Can they hear what is talking? Mark, can you hear us?
Yes, sir, I can. Yes, sir.
Lily, can you hear me?
Lily?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go ahead and have this meeting come to order then. This is the Craighead County Public Library Subcommittee, not the entire board, but a subcommittee that has been put together at the director's, or actually the board president's request for us to review the different proposals that have been presented and try to make a recommendation to the full board. The full board will meet next Monday, is that correct?
At 5:30.
5:30. Now, the 5:30 meeting will not have anything to do with this.
The 5:30 meeting, you'll have to give them your recommendation of what you decide today, and then that board would vote on based on your recommendation. That's what I'll have to
But I
have.
thought that was at 6 o'clock.
No, 5:30. It starts at 5:30. At 5 o'clock is the Crowley Ridge, and at 5:30 is the Craighead County. Right.
I'm sorry.
Yep,
I thought
yep.
the 5:30 meeting was Crowley Ridge.
No.
Okay, I got to get my calendar straight then.
Yeah, don't be late now.
All right, so 5 o'clock is just is the meeting that we have with the Crowley's Ridge, which includes the Harrisburg one. And although it's indirectly impacted by this, not directly impacted by it. So,
Right.
So the big meeting for just the Craighead County
Is that
Stone
5?
Curl is at
30.
5:30.
Yeah.
5:30. Set down right now. Okay. My understanding is we have two proposals that we're to look at here in the subcommittee, and any kind of comments or changes to what is written to be submitted by members of the members of the subcommittee as for discussion. Lily, ask her if she has any.
As far as I understand, last time at the end of the last meeting, we talked about having several members on the subcommittee offered to do additional research into, I think Mr. Nicholas offered to do additional research into how basically how we can analyze the content in order to categorize the different kinds of titles that the board wants to provide oversight for, right? Do we have any update on that?
That's the crux of the question is, of the information, is whether the board is going to have control over that other than the way that it is in place now. The way that it's in place now is that we have a material reconsideration policy which allows for patrons, which includes board members, to, if they find the material that they want to be reconsidered, to be either removed from the library or moved to a different designation in the library, they can put that information on the form and submit it. This has been in place ever since I've been associated with the library, which has been for 20 years or so. So this material reconsideration policy is in place, and this is not being questioned. What is being questioned is, are we going to change the way in which the board is supposed to look at it, rather than necessarily in the way in which the staff is supposed to look at it? The collection development policy is the policy by which members of the staff here at the library choose the material and purchase the material that goes into the library. The collection development policy we have no oversight of that. The board does not. So we either feel like the collection development policy is okay, the way it exists, with a material reconsideration policy that allows patrons to submit information to the staff. The staff will reevaluate it. The process is all outlined in here. And just to mention this, that since we've had a couple of meetings, people have become aware of the process now, and patrons are using the process now. So we have the stream of activity going and flowing in the way that it has been set up for years. So the information that we have now is, do we want that material reconsideration policy and the collection development policy that's already in place and is available for the patrons to use? And if there is reconsideration that is necessary, it's done by the staff. And the staff that does the reconsideration is not the actual part of the staff that makes the purchase originally. So we have other members. And don't forget that the people who work here are also members of the community. So we're getting community input, not only from the staff who makes the collection selections, but if there is any question about the placement or anything about the material, I mean, if you find a book and the page is torn out of it, you can bring that. I mean, it's just not just for sensitive materials. It's for anything that you think needs to be changed at the library. So this material reconsideration policy then that's in place, and the collection development policy that's in place, that has worked for years and years, and now there is information in which they want, it has been recommended by members of the board that we reconsider the way we're doing business and have produced a policy proposal in which sensitive material, which is being designated, listed as on our proposal policy here, that the board either force the staff to involve this in the way they do business, or that we take that upon ourselves to do that. If the policy for changing the sensitive or is approved or recommended to the board, full board, for approval, then this new way of doing business is going to be in effect. If this proposal is not recommended to the full board, and that vote will be taken at this meeting by the subcommittee. We'll make a recommendation to the full board. The full board will have a chance to either vote for it or against our recommendation. If this is voted for, then we will consider a second proposal, which has to do with the oversight of guest speakers, guest authors, demonstrations, and performances that are held here. Once again, that falls under the perusal of the library staff, not the library board at this time. If the first policy is approved, then we'll vote on the second one, because the second one is hinged on the approval of the first one. If the first one is not recommended for forwarding to the full board for their vote, then it's a moot point on the second one. Everyone understand how that's going to work here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do I need to read the proposal, or?
No, I think we sent them copies.
Okay, everybody has a copy?
Yep.
Lily, you have a copy of the two proposals?
Hey, Dr. Lilly?
Oh, I'm sorry. I muted
Yeah, that's
myself. I kept talking.
Okay.
Did you send the newer updated version? The copy I have is from the last meeting.
Oh, the new copy should have a little bit of red in it, but not too, there's not too much, but we can read it out if you want.
Okay, I didn't receive the updated version, but I
I'm
have in
sorry.
front of me the old version. So if you tell me, you explain to me where the updates are, that will help.
Yes.
Okay, you wanna?
Yeah,
you wanna do
so,
that? Closer to the phone.
Yeah, so on the fourth line down, it says, the second sentence says, "The intention of this proposal is to give the board prior awareness of sensitive books and materials, including e-books," is what was added in there.
Okay,
Okay, and then in the next paragraph, it was added in, we crossed out the word tween and we put in the word juvenile. So it says, "By the children's, juvenile, and teen departments."
okay,
Okay, and then in the next section down underneath sensitive materials definition, that next sentence reads, "Books and materials which possess a clear intention to educate, promote, propagate, or expose the following topics."
okay.
So they added "or expose" there to that sentence. You have that?
Yes,
Okay, and then under number 1, it was added in, it says topics of sexual and or romantic attraction and experience was added in.
okay,
And then the last thing that was added in was under number 3, the very last line, it says abortion, abstinence, fertility, family size, sex education was added in. Sex education and then et cetera.
okay,
Okay, there were the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 changes to it. Other than that, it was exactly the same.
okay.
Okay.
All right, ask Mark the
Got it.
same question.
Mark, did you get all of those as well?
Yes, sir. Yeah, mine shows it marked up in red. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Okay,
yeah,
that's,
yes, sir.
yeah. Okay, all right, very good.
Okay,
Mike-
I have the updated version. Tanya just sent it to me. I have the,
Okay, very good.
it's
Okay,
arrived.
okay. Tanya's good. I didn't think she was still here.
Yes,
so, okay.
she's awesome. Okay,
No.
thank you, Tanya. If you're there.
Mike and Dr. Zing, I do have, I guess, a question. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, I
Yeah.
do.
Okay. Well, I think you guys are probably familiar with the book. It's perfectly normal that we've shown some pretty graphic pictures at our last meeting. And so I guess the question I have is, if we don't have this policy, then how do we prevent a book like that from being placed where 10-year-olds can get their eyes and hands on that, which was very graphic. I think we all can remember that. And so I guess that's my question. If not this, then I know, Mike, you talked about our existing policies, but within our existing policy, that book was for the eyes of 10-year-olds to see, which I think it's inappropriate. So how do you view that, Mike?
So, Mark, this is David. I'll answer that to a certain extent. I just wanted to let you know that for that particular book, this last week, 2 people filled out a reconsideration policy form. So now what we're in the process of doing is forming a committee, like Mr. Johnson said, that's not the same people that order the material, but we're trying to get like various and sundry people from the different departments that have nothing to do with ordering. Some people might have children, some people might not have children, some people might have worked here for a long time, some people might be brand new. So we'll put that out and we'll follow that policy, and they'll read that material and then make a recommendation about how they feel about that particular book. Then I would pass that back to the people that had submitted the policy in the first place. And then if that doesn't satisfy them, then that would all be turned over to the board, the whole board. And then at that point, then I would ask all of you guys on the board to read the material and all of the recommendations and all of the reviews or whatever else there are with it. And then once you guys get it, the board, can then vote on that. And then the board's decision is final on that. In other words, there can be no other going back to that, right? So if the board decides that they want to move it somewhere else, if the board decides they want to get rid of it, if the board decides to do whatever, that's a final decision by the board. And that's what's written in that policy.
So this is our existing policy we have now?
That's the existing materials reconsideration policy that we have now. That's how that works.
That's actually not something we're voting on, but that's our existing policy.
That's correct.
Okay,
That's how
well,
Has been for,
hey, let's just say I'm gonna throw out that, let's say that it's perfectly normal. That book was on the shelves. Let's just say, I don't know, I'm just gonna say a matter of months at least, probably. So I guess what I'm hearing you say is we can kind of put, I feel like there needs to be discretion, okay, before it goes on the shelf for someone to flag it, if you will. So I think the thing we're missing is, where is the discretion that put that book on the shelf for, let's just say 4, 5, 6 months, however long it was there. And let's just say, how many kids were exposed to it before a parent saw that. And so I think that's the underlying issue that concerns me.
okay? I hear what you're saying. Everybody, did you hear what he said? You hear what he said? Everybody? Okay.
Yes, I did.
Lily did? Yeah. Okay. Well, the situation is this. I, as a board member, do not want to be the one that has to make a professional opinion. I would rather leave the book selection up to the people who are professionally trained and have the time to read all the reviews and make the selection. And once the selection is made and it's on the shelf, and we've had books on the shelf for years, am I right, David?
This book was originally published in 1994, and we've had it on the shelf since 1994.
And so, since 1994 till present day, no one has raised an objection. So either...
I just want to say, there was one person, I don't know what year it was, that did raise an initial objection to it, and this was coming from the former children's librarian that was here for years. And so at that time, they did put it into the parent-teacher section. She thinks that because they came out with a new edition, that somehow it didn't make it back to the parent-teacher section, that I guess it made it out to the regular area. And so, but recently, we moved a lot of those books back into the parent-teacher section again. But she said once she did that for that particular parent, then that seemed to satisfy that parent, and they were okay with that. So I didn't want you to get the false impression that it hadn't been challenged before. Just one time before, between 94 and now.
But it's been checked out many times.
It's been checked out many times, yeah.
Yeah, Mike.
Okay. Mark, you have any other comments?
Well, I guess I just want to say that, I don't really think it takes someone with a master's in, library, to realize that those pictures were very inappropriate for young people. And so I understand what you're saying is there is specific training in this area of, I'm sure, all kinds of various things, or digital card catalogs, you name it. But when it comes to the discretion of putting graphic material in the hands of young people for years and years, I do not think it takes someone with a degree to be able to have that discretion to know better than that. So, I don't have a lot of time personally. I'm very busy, but protecting the hearts and minds of young children is a priority to me. And so I'll make time to do that if I have to.
I think it still gets back to the same issue that it's been getting to for a long time here, is that at the library, it's still the obligation, I would say, of the parent to decide what material their child checks out and what material their child doesn't check out. And that's really still what it gets down to. And so it may be that you and other people might think that that's inappropriate for your, say, 6th grader, 7th grader, but there are other people in the community that might decide that that is quite appropriate for their 6th grader, 7th grader. And so that's really, I think, the point that you keep getting to, is that we don't want to make that judgment call. We're just putting out material that has been reviewed by professional reviewers, other librarians. We're not the only people that do this. We follow our collection development policy, which outlines all of those things, and then it's really still up to the parents to decide what their material is being checked out and what is not being checked out. The job of the library is not to judge that. The job of the library is to just have all different types of material available for all the different types of people that come into the library. That's what our job is.
David, I want to remind you of our last conversation in our last subcommittee meeting. Miss Gates was there, and we were talking about the review process and, you know, different sites we look at, and I don't have the exact quote in front of me, but it was something along the lines of Miss Gates said, "Oh, we discuss or debate about them heavily, which books to get." You know, we discuss that, and so I think it's misleading to say that we just accept everything and we don't use I say we, the library doesn't use some kind of existing censorship. Really, it really boils down to the hearts and priorities, I guess, to some extent, of the staff on what that filter is, because according to Miss Gates, and we can go back in those minutes and read that recording, and you know, she said, no, we debate heavily, you know, which books, you know, and so do you remember that comment?
Yeah, but I think you're sort of confusing things a little bit. So, for example, when we decide that we have, we don't have so many books on one particular subject and we want to buy more books on that subject, right? We go into the place that sells us the books. We might look up, just pick a term, dinosaurs, whatever you want to decide. We might have a choice of 60 or 70 books on dinosaurs. And so what our process is to go through and try to pick out the best ones of the 60 books that are available in order to fill that hole. That's what we call it, a hole in our collection. So in that sense, we are making these judgment calls because there are 60 books that we might to choose from. Kind of what you're suggesting is that we're in some way sort of censoring out the other 55 if we only buy the 5 books, but we can't afford to buy every book that's been published. I mean, so that argument doesn't really make sense for me in that sense. It really, I mean, we're looking at the process from the opposite point of view. So in this case, if we needed more material, sexual education material, we try to buy a well-rounded scope of this. Some of the material might be more graphic. Some of the material might not have any graphics at all. Some of them might be geared towards boys and towards girls, and some of them may be for older kids. Some of them may be for younger kids. We're just trying to get the best material based on these reviews and based on these sites that we go to sort of give us a wide range of this because, again, it gets back to the parents, and it gets back to some parents want the graphics. Some parents do not want the graphics. Some parents want sort of the middle of the road. Some parents might have an older child or a younger child or a girl or a boy. And so, again, we don't know who's going to walk in the door on any given day. We're just trying our best to have a wide variety for whoever walks into the door to satisfy whatever they want. Again, still gets back to whatever the parents want for their child.
Okay,
Ask Lily if she has any other information to share.
I don't. I actually echo Mike's statement earlier, I trust the professionals to make their decision. I also agree with David in what he said about providing a wide variety of materials that we can afford to allow our patrons to select from. Again, it comes back to that part of the policy in terms of the parents are the final decision makers. Do we need to educate our patrons again that you are in charge? If parents are concerned about what they may access from the shelf, I mean, I don't agree with everything that is on your shelves, and I don't think anybody is totally in agreement with everything that the library supports. But I don't have to agree, right? With everything that is being curated in your collection. Again, I echo what Mike said earlier.
Lily, are you ready to vote on the policy proposal?
I'm ready whenever it is put for votes.
Okay. Mark, you're not here in person. Are you ready to vote on this proposal?
Well, I guess I'm just about ready. I just want to make one more point. And I think I hear what you're saying, but I think if there were books out there, promoting, let's say, drug use in minors, right? I think you would have some discretion and say, no, we're not going to have that book in our teen section because it's harmful for the child, right? And so I think really what we're talking about is along the same lines. And the sexual material that I'm seeing in there is harmful to the child, and so that's my concern. And so I hear what you're saying, but I don't really think that you really feel like you guys let everything in and let the parents do it. There's some discretion that goes on, whether it's appropriate for teen eyes or not. And so I think you would say, no, we're not going to have the book on promoting drugs to children, and weed that out. I don't think you would put it on the shelf. But at the same time, I'm ready to vote whenever you guys are.
Mr.
Okay.
Nichols, I agree with you that there's actually in the field of mass media, which books are part of this, although I don't deal with the library and curation. But we call it gatekeeping. So basically there are several steps in the publication and presentation of mediated content, including books like news stories and so on. Different individuals, different groups are in charge at different levels. I trust that the library, based on their policy, the collection development policy, there are guidelines, there are policies that they follow when they make the selections for the library to purchase. If we as a board have concerns, if we don't feel like some policies make sense, or we feel some policies needs improvement or revision, we can definitely make recommendations for those. But I don't see the board as a group, the board steps in to make the decisions for the professionals. I can only speak for myself. I am not professionally trained to make those decisions. And I don't have a full-time job reading all those materials before making the decision for purchase. But I do read as much as possible what my child checks out under their account. To be honest with you, I actually approve. I approve what my children get access to. I understand some parents have to leave their kids there. Some parents have to have the luxury of having somebody to take their kids to the library. I actually don't. Whenever my kids are in the library, I am with them. So I can honestly say that I am that step of the gatekeeper for my kids' access to library material.
Thank you, Lily. Might also point out that you see there's a large amount of construction that's going on. So all of the children's material is not going to be all shoved in together, all levels. We have a part that's going this way, we have a part that's going this way, all of this. We'll have a separate entrance only to the children's library if a parent chooses to use that, so that they don't have to come through the teen section and the adult section and all the other things that are out there. So we're making every effort possible to try to have the material that's appropriate in an area where a child doesn't have to roam the entire library. And but David, I wanted to ask you, would we be able to find a book anywhere that promotes illegal drug use?
No.
I'm just asking.
Yeah.
I would trust our professionals, our librarians, to screen those content out, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I kind of wish that I could invite people on the other side to sort of show how many books that we say no to, right? Because we say no to a lot more books than we say yes to. And so the only thing I could think of with drug use at all would be, there would be factual books about drugs. There might be a fictional book with a character that is using drugs, but most of the books that are in the teen area, they'll start out maybe with that kind of thing, but normally the book is written in a way that either that shows that that's really a bad thing. I mean, I can't think of any book off the top of my head where the hero of the story was a drug user. You know what I mean? Usually that's going to be a bad character of the book that ends up failing whatever they were trying to do in the book, you know. And so, no, no, we would not have any. No, we would just not have any.
I'm ready to vote.
Okay.
May I have one more question before we get to the voting stage?
All right.
In paragraph 2, David, you may help answer my question. When you change the term tween into juvenile, it's just a term change. What does, remind me about what juvenile represents, which age group?
So juvenile is really like first grade, second grade. When they start to read, it's like the chapter books through till you get to age 13. So it's like third, fourth, fifth, sixth grade, seventh grade, something like that. We don't really have a tween section, and so that's why we changed that out of there. We have programs for kids that are 10, 11, and 12, which are the tween programming, but their books are in with like the third grade books, the fourth grade books, the fifth grade books, something like that, right?
Okay, so children's are the young little bitty kids before a grade school.
Yeah, the children's are like the board books and the picture books that you would mostly be reading to your child.
Okay.
Right? So once they get into like the ready-to-read books, like Danny the Dinosaur, Sammy the Seal, you know, things like that, Amelia Bedelia, they're all going to be in a shelving unit, but it's going to be closer to the juvenile section because we want the kids to move from that area into like the chapter books, like I can't think of anything off the top of my head. You know, like some of the early Harry Potter books. I mean, but there's lots of the Gecko. There's the Gecko book. I haven't been a children's librarian for a while. So, yeah, Magic Treehouse. There you go. Yeah.
Okay, one more question. Forgive me. In the first paragraph, when you say including ebooks, do we also refer to those e-collection through the Libby's? Well, since I use the app, is that through the consortium that we join?
So there's actually
refer to those?
Yeah, we have two different collections. So we have some children's books through the consortium, through Libby, that you can get. We ourselves here at the library also have books through another company called Access 360, and we have more children's books in there. And so, but that would include both of that, any kind of e-books that we might purchase for the library.
Okay.
Or you would have access to as a, like, I can't control the consortium. I can't control what other libraries buy, right? Yeah.
Uh-huh. If
Yeah.
if we also include those through, with access through the consortium, I'd like to recommend the board, the rest of the subcommittee, that there's no way that this library can have control over what other people, other libraries
Right.
have on their
Right.
in their collection.
Sure. Yeah, we're aware of that.
Right. Okay.
Any further discussion from anyone? No? We're ready to vote then?
Are you gonna have to state your name and say how you voted, so, because I can't see the hands? So,
Okay, on the policy proposal for children's, juvenile, teen, sensitive material notice, we'll be taking a vote on that, and our vote will be to either, support or not this proposal to the full board for their vote. Ms. Tate?
Shall we take second?
No, you don't need, no, you either vote for this or
Oh, okay, so I'll
against
have second, okay, I'll vote for it.
you vote to bring, to...
Yes,
to-
it. This proposal is the one we're doing.
so we're accepting,
No, we're not we're either accepting to send this one on, or it dies here. If you vote against it, not forwarding it on.
so if I vote for this, it's gonna die.
No,
No, if you vote
Okay, you got
against
me,
it, it dies.
okay, you have to explain that again?
Okay, we're voting on this policy proposal,
These are changes.
and these the changes are in it. This is the one that Mark had. And if we want this to become policy, as a recommendation to the full board, then you vote for it. If we don't want this, if we want to keep what we have in place right now, then you vote against this, sending this recommendation to the full board. All right, you want to think about it a minute?
Yeah, let me go back through that and make
Okay.
sure. Let me look at something.
Okay, Lily, are you ready to vote on this proposal?
Yes, I am. I vote, Lily Zane votes no.
Okay. Mike Johnson, I'm ready. I'll vote no. While Ms. Tate's getting ready, Mark?
Yeah, Mark Nichols, yes.
Mark votes for it.
So we're taking out, we're adding in the ebook.
No, it's not what we've added in here. This is just regular, the
Right.
whole thing. We're voting not on what changes, just for the whole thing.
Right, but these are the changes that he put in.
No, he wrote the whole thing.
Thing,
And then
okay.
he also came back.
Mike, it's actually, Amanda actually wrote it anyways.
Okay,
yeah,
Okay, that,
a former board member wrote it, and then the red was what, that had been changed at the last meeting.
in a subcommittee
okay,
meeting.
okay, that's where I was confused at, okay.
Okay,
And so he wrote this, and then that's what he,
right, yes.
The changes that he made to it.
So, Ms.
This is the one
Tate,
that we're working on.
we're basically voting on whether to adopt this new policy that is being proposed, or to keep the current collection, the current policy that has already been in place.
thank you, Dr. Lilly, okay, that's what I had confused, because I thought that, I didn't.
I know it's,
realize that.
well, you're new to the
Okay,
subcommittee.
okay. So Ms. Tate, Sharon Tate again.
Okay. By a vote of 3 subcommittee members voting no and 1 voting yes, the policy proposal does not go forward, or does go forward to the whole board to vote on, but the recommendation from the subcommittee is to vote no on it.
That is correct, yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
so this one, we don't have to vote on then.
no,
Okay.
okay.
Is there any further, business,
Not for this subcommittee, I don't
not for
think.
this subcommittee?
No.
Okay, who wants to make a motion to adjourn then?
I will.
Okay,
I shall entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting at
It is 5:50.
5:50.
Lily's in second.
okay, it's been seconded by Lily. All
Okay.
in favor, we'll vote. Ms. Tate?
I shall entertain.
Mike Johnson, yes? To
Hi,
adjourn?
Lily Zing.
Nichols, aye.
Yeah,
He said yes?
I think so, yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right, the motion carries and the meeting is adjourned.
Okay.